Hi, my name is Jay Kalagayan. I am a founder of Know Theater. I was executive director and doing development probably for 12 years for the theater company. During that time, I was also playwriting, directing. I was on stage a couple of times. And then I've definitely cleaned a toilet or two. I've done that kind of, ran a vacuum cleaner, that kind of thing.
And Bridget?
My name is Bridget Leek, and I'm the current producing artistic director of the Know, and I am almost at my year anniversary mark, being here at the theater.
I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania, that little slice of Pennsylvania that touches Lake Erie. They decided to call it Erie, real imaginative there. But love Lake Erie, love Erie, Pennsylvania. Came here for Xavier University and spent about 5 years at Xavier. And during that time, while studying, I wrote for the Xavier Newswire, and I got to do reviews for the Xavier Newswire. And I got to experience Cincinnati and did reviews for plays, including the Playhouse, Ensemble Theater. Shakespeare was just getting started, and really just fell in love with Cincinnati and its art scene. So I decided to stay here after college, and but I wanted to add a little bit of something, so another voice. So I started Know Theater Tribe. I was a nursing major, and that's what I got my degree in, is nursing. And luckily, after you graduate, nursing is something you can do probably 4 days a week, weekends, that kind of thing, and then still run a theater company at the same time.
I'm not from Cincinnati. I'm a Army brat. My dad was in the Army, and so I've lived pretty much, you name a state or a country, I've probably lived there for some time. I came to Cincinnati. I was living in New York City at the time, and I had gone to New York City for grad school, got an MFA in directing, and was essentially freelancing as a theater director in New York City, which was very difficult. And I kept applying for bigger and bigger opportunities, and the biggest response I was getting was I didn't have enough assisting under my belt. And so I discovered that Cincinnati Playhouse in the Park was offering a directing fellowship where over the course of 9 months I could assist on 13 productions. And I said, great, I'll move to Cincinnati, I'll do these 13 shows, I'll move back to New York City and go and restart my career. And it just so happened that when I got the job and I came here, the art scene here was so welcoming. And the first show that my husband is a playwright and I'm a director, the first show that we self-produced was at the Know Theater for the Cincinnati Fringe Festival. And that was in spring of 2014. And after that, we just kept getting more and more theater work, and I got more and more directing work. And so it was like, okay, we'll stay through August. Okay, we'll now stay through December. My husband was like, well, why don't we just stay until we don't? And 12 years later, 2 dogs, a baby, and a house, we now are Cincinnatians, yeah. But I really think it was the art scene and the investment in seeing weird and funky art was really what allowed us to create and set roots here and establish our careers here, yeah.
I think that's what's really cool about Cincinnati is that it's, when I would talk to Jason Bruffy, the artistic director at Know Theater for a certain amount of time, we would talk about it being a hub. Mm-hmm. So like if you wanted to be a professional actor, you could get your start in Cincinnati. Yeah. You could make it a stop in Cincinnati before you might go to like say a New York or a Los Angeles or Chicago. Yeah. And I think what's nice about Cincinnati is you can also come back.
Yeah.
After you might not have the success you want, but you can also come back here.
Well, what I'm also discovering though is because the arts are so well funded here, you can also make this your permanent home. And I'm finding, having now taught at Xavier for many, many years and also CCM, I'm finding more and more students are interested in staying. Mm-hmm. Where originally all of the conversations were after you graduated, am I going to Chicago? Am I going to New York City? Am I going to LA and pursuing the film route? I think really what we're finding is artists are like, well, I've already sort of established myself here by being in school, but also doing community theater productions, Know Theatre productions. They're like, well, I already have a bit of a footing. Do I want to start all over by moving to Chicago, or do I want to use my connections that I have here to really set up? And so I find more and more of my students are like, yeah, I'm going to spend a year here,
Yes.
maybe at home, closer to home, 2 years here, and then decide. And the thing that I keep telling them, I'm like, you're so young that if you do spend 2 or 3 or 5 or 7 years here, you can still go to Chicago and New York, but it's so much cheaper here. And this is the thing that I keep stressing, and which is what I think makes Cincinnati so great is, you know, when we were living in New York City, and this again was 12 years ago, our rent was going up to $1,900, which was outrageous then. And then I moved to Cincinnati and I was paying $525 for a mother-in-law suite in Mount Adams. Like it was absurd, and it still is pretty absurd, but the affordability. In New York City, I was always chasing the rent money. Whereas here, I know that my mortgage now, I'm going to be able to cover that. So what do I want to do with my free time? What do I want to create outside of my 9 to 5?
And that when we were back in '99,
Yeah.
that's when we moved to Gabriel's Corner, which we still use for Fringe
Yeah.
venue, correct? So when we were at Gabriel's Corner, a lot of our peers, they were at the Aronoff, and the price difference. I'm not going to diss the Aronoff or anything like that. They bring amazing productions and a lot of great artwork, but I would definitely say that there was a big difference between rent at Gabriel's Corner versus the Aronoff space, the black box space at the Aronoff. And so we were able to, just like you were saying, the affordability, we were able to experiment a little bit more. We didn't have to program for large numbers. So we would do like Ethel Fugard's My Children, My Africa.
Which I love,
or we got to do like new plays from like Kevin Barry, like in Rebel Country. So we got to experiment and not do tentpole productions where we were making rent and hopefully help, like, you know, a little bit towards the next production.
Right.
So I think that affordability not just goes towards the artists living here, but also with the companies trying to find their own voice. And I think that also bridges into the Fringe Festival, where there's a great model, because I think Queen City Flash, your company, was able to, no matter what, have at least one production or performance gallery.
And it was sort of, it felt like a guarantee, even though we applied every single year. It was like, we know, and for my husband, who is a playwright, he's like, I don't want to have the same voice with every show I do. I want to reinvent myself with every, and sort of put a new parameter on what I want to write or what I want to say in this story. And that really gave him the freedom to really explore. And so we did everything from a 15-person dance piece with monologues to a one-man show that he starred in. And so, but it really allowed him the freedom to create, which I think really is a testament to the Fringe and the Know, allowing you that space to create your identity as an artist.
There were a couple economic times where, like, the economy up and down and everything. So what was nice was a lot of the companies that started around the same time Know Theatre did, they're not around as much, or they got to continue through the Fringe Festival. But what I like about Know Theatre is it allows companies to survive that don't do that traditional, here's our season, here's our thing. They can do more one-shots, or they can do 1 or 2 things a year. And I think, like, through the 1 Minute Festival that Know Theatre was producing, the serials, and having, I think we've featured local playwrights on our upstairs stage and in the underground as well. So Know Theatre Tribe was a bunch of college students, Xavier students, friends of mine, people who are in Xavier Players under Kathy Springfield, who we adored. But I also worked with Black Student Association, BSA Plays, and I was just on a producing kick. I was playwriting, I was directing, I was producing, and a lot of great opportunities that I got to learn from on the ground at Xavier. And I wanted to add another voice. Like I said, I was doing a lot of reviews and checking out a lot of the theaters and just loving the vibe that Cincinnati had. But I felt it like needed another voice. It needed something else. So I created Know Theatre Tribe with a bunch of my friends from Xavier. And what we were trying to do, at least in the first year, was bring theater to the community. So we would do skits, and this was the age of the super bookstore, the supersized bookstore. So they had the big hearth or fireplace, and then we could perform there. And I think honestly, if we're performing and we get your attention for a second, as you're not there for the show, you're there to buy a book, you're there to get a cup of coffee. But if we caught your attention for even a second, I feel like we accomplished something. It was a bunch of skits that we put together, cobbled together, poetry, skits that I wrote. I was a playwright as well. And it was really just a blast, performing with your friends. I think we did it all for free. It was free admission. I think one bookstore paid us $100, so we were, we were in the black. $100. So, like, so that was great. And then the next show series that we did a children's thing, a little bit more focused on families, and then we even got to experiment. We did a Kaya Mangi, which was a Filipino folktale pieces. So I got to just kind of access my ethnicity and my culture and do those pieces with my friends. So we were wandering, we were nomadic. We would go around the tri-state area and just bring theater to the community and really accomplish that. We found Gabriel's Corner for the longest time. Gabriel's Corner was the home for several companies. There were various generations, I think is the right word, generations of theater companies. And at that time, no one was regularly at Gabriel's Corner. So we settled there, started working. It's at the corner of Sycamore and Liberty, the loudest street corner on earth.
Yep, the drag racing,
the drag racing trucks, everything like that. But I think it really fit. We did this, we went there in '99, and we started with, it was an Athol Fugard show, Blood Knot. And we also did a multicultural production, a diverser production of A Streetcar Named Desire. And so we were doing some of the classics and balancing it out with some world premieres and really just focusing on stories that needed to be told. So we had a great time at Gabriel's Corner. We went through the riots. There was an economic downturn, but I think, again, when we were talking about affordability, because Gabriel's Corner was flexible enough and the rent was very affordable, we were able to experiment a little bit more. We were able to tell those stories. And I think that my favorite thing is when audience members leave and... And I always try and agree to say goodbye to them when they're leaving and stuff. And he's like, and there would be this one guy, and I'd be like, okay, thanks for coming. And he's like, oh, and he would tell me like 5 reasons why he didn't like the show or something like that. He's like, all right, I'll see you next time. And then they'd be back and he'd tell me. But I think what's nice is I would not want anyone to come to a No Theater show and not feel questions or triggered by it. Yeah. I would hate it if the first question they ask as they leave the show is, so where do you want to get dinner? Yeah. Or where do you want to go get a drink? Yeah. I want them to think about it. Yeah. And they would never question the quality, which was really important, but they would always have questions. The themes, yeah. Absolutely. And I think that's carried through Jason, through Eric Vossmeyer, through Andrew Hungerford, and with what you've done in your first year here, is I still think we're challenging and having them ask that question. Yeah. Whether Blurs, for example, really just shows that there's a geek culture that was not accessible to people
not tapped
of color.
Into, right? Yeah, and that was really wonderful to hear in the talkbacks that we had for our student matinees, especially with Blurs, which stands for Black Nerds. Yeah. Is this idea of like the actors were saying, it's an all black cast, and they were saying, I love Star Wars, or I love Star Trek, and I loved Pokemon, but there wasn't an outlet for them, and so feeling that this show really allowed them to sort of geek out in all of its glory.
And you're tapping into our origin in that I never got to see myself on stage that often. Yeah. Unless I was seeing a David Henry Hwang play or something. I never got to see other Asians on that stage. I never got to see other black people. And I mean, like, the Century Cycle was just going.
Yeah,
August
right.
Wilson's Century Cycle, and there was not as many opportunities, especially in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
When we started focusing especially on trying to do diverse casting, trying to do BIPOC playwrights, but also LGBTQIA
Yeah,
playwrights. And so like Tony Kushner's Angels in America,
Terrence
Last
McNally,
Sunday in
yeah.
June. Yeah, so like really just trying to focus on that, because in Cincinnati there was a boycott when we were in Gabriel's Corner. I don't know all the deal. I don't know it all off the top of my head, but there was a boycott of downtown Cincinnati because of discriminatory practices at the time that were against people in the LGBTQIA community. So we started becoming that theater and telling those stories that needed to be told. I think before YouTube, Instagram, and all the social media, I think that the stage was the place where people could see someone who looked like them.
Yeah.
And that was just really important for us to represent.
And I think that we're still carrying on that tradition here. We host, drag performances and burlesque on this very stage. And I think it is for someone who might not feel comfortable going to a gay bar because of what that might be too much of a title. I think it's easier to be like, well, I'm going to this underground funky stage and there's a bar, so I'm not going, so I think it allows a sort of, a greater escape, but also without having to put a label on the identity that you may or may not be exploring, or maybe you just want to come see some cool performers,
or just step out,
like
whether it's in your comfort zone or out of your comfort zone. I feel like I think Cincinnati, as affordable as it is, and as much as I love it, I want to cultivate more of a audience of explorers. Like people need to try new and different things. Try something new.
Yeah.
In 1997, we put together a bunch of different little skits. We had a trunk, and we had this pipe and drape. It was a red, it was this red curtain. I don't even know where that ended up. And we toured the big box stores. We did Borders, Barnes and Noble. Joseph Beth was just starting, so we were kind of touring a lot of those places, but also going to different community stores, Cincinnati recreation centers, and everything like that. Really, wherever anyone would have us. And it was Borders, rest in peace, that paid us that first $100 to get us in the black, like as far as all our, because we only had to pay for that trunk and that red scrim. So we would just go there, and then afterwards we would hang out. And I mean, I need no excuse to hang out in a bookstore. So I would love that. Although I would be very critical of their theater selection. Not as many
it's always so skimpy, that theater section.
Always Angels in America, which is good, but I need a little bit more. The big one was when they would have ensemble theater. They did Poor Superman. So when they would have that book, I'd be like, okay, this is a good store. So we were at Gabriel's Corner, and we did some amazing work. There were a couple of productions that just really, and for those that know, Gabriel's Corner, Sycamore and Liberty, it's underneath a working church. The church is the one that they look over and approve all our scripts. And I think I had a blitz strategy where I just hand them 10 scripts. I'm like, well, let me know which one.
They're not going to read all of them.
Yes, they will. Just maybe not all of them, but anyway, So, but we did. One of my fun ones was Playhouse. We did the Bible, the Complete Word of God abridged. And it's just these, that company, the Complete Works company, and it's just them doing a bunch of little skits from the Bible. And for some reason, licensing wise, Playhouse had it the same year, the same theater season as we did, and so they did an amazing job. They had the actual creators do it, so of course it's a great job. When it came our turn, we did it oh, hey, here's a bunch of actors having fun in a church basement. And here's the props we found either in the church, or in the back of the church in their kitchen or something like that. So it was just had a different feel. And it really just shows
a different energy.
It's just because they have the major ideas in the but here we are in a church basement. And we did a little bit more on playing on the religious themes then we can pull off it just felt like that. So we did there's a couple other plays. Sister Mary Ignatius Explains It All to You, which is like this little psychotic nun, and a great piece. And I don't know why you're doing it in a church.
Yeah, there's something about it that feels a little dangerous. Yeah.
And one of our last productions, Stephen Natalie Gurgis, we did The Last Days of Judas Iscariot.
Yeah.
Chris Guthrie played Judas. It was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was a great piece. So those are the kind of pieces that just kind of allowed us to ask those kind of questions. And you felt like, ooh, we're in a church basement.
Doing something, yeah.
And the pinnacle was Corpus Christi. We did Corpus Christi in 2003. We received about 10,000 postcards in protest. All these like... they were all reproductions of the same postcard, just mailed from different locations. So, and then when we did the production, we took the stance. They have the right to protest.
Yep.
We have the right to do the production. So,
but can you talk a little bit about what the play is?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So Corpus Christi by Terrence McNally. Was directed by Michael Burnham, CCM professor. Basically, it's kind of overall theme is asking the question, when you're in Sunday school, what if Jesus, little kids ask like, well, what if Jesus was a woman?
Yeah.
What if Jesus was black? What if Jesus was gay?
Yeah.
And so Corpus Christi takes that stance.
Yeah.
So while the production is happening, Michael Burnham cast this amazing ensemble of actors. And he did it even differently than the production that McNally did.
Yeah.
Was he did men and women, people identify as men and women. He had diverse casting, and I mean, it was just phenomenal production. While he was working hard on that, and I was overseeing as producer, I had to deal with a lot of the postcards we were getting, the hate mail we were getting, and the protests themselves. And one of the things that the church asked us to do was to get additional insurance.
Yeah.
Which was not in our budget. And it makes sense that they
right,
asked
but
us to
it's
do
so
it.
expensive.
But it's so expensive, especially because it's not like one day. I mean, this is like
liability
3-week run.
insurance is no joke.
Yeah.
Having founded my own theater company, that is the thing. No, but that is the thing that like pushes you over the edge, and you just hope that wherever you're performing has insurance, because to purchase your own is just,
And I mean, when we were talking about those affordable things, I mean, we're talking about shoestring.
Yeah.
So to add the additional cost of insurance.
Yeah.
So we had board member and supporters, Betsy Shank and Scott Knox, and they helped connect us with his theater patron. His name was David Harriman. And David Harriman, we met, and we had lunch, and we were talking, and I was telling him about the production and everything like that. And he's like, well, what would you do if you didn't have the money for the insurance? And I was like, we're going to find a way to do it.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the spirit of theater artists.
Yep, is
We're just
you find a
artists in
way.
general.
Yep.
We're just going to do it. You
Yeah.
got to figure it out.
Yeah, problem
Whether
solvers.
You're
Yeah.
crowdsourcing it, or I'm going to put my pennies at the at that machine at Kroger.
Yeah.
And try.
Yep.
So then David ended up paying for the insurance.
Wow.
So David Harriman paid for the insurance for that production and started a long relationship with us for Corpus Christi. For the production of Corpus Christi, it went off without a hitch. I think during one of the free nights, we still did the free night.
Yeah.
And it was like a pay what you can, because we want the community to come and not feel that price was a barrier. And even at its high point, I think prices were only like $15 a ticket or $12 a ticket. There was someone who just started yelling in the middle of the production. We got him out of there, and we were able to do the production. Our first protester was this lady, older lady, and she had a sign, and it said, "Be gone, Satan." And she was walking up and down the block. We set up a little rope line so everyone would have a path, because anyone can protest. You just can't block people coming in. And her sign was spelled wrong. It was BEGONE, be gone, Satan. And we were like looking at her strange because we were reading.
Yeah.
And she's like, I know it's misspelled. and she was our first protester walking up. She was probably there for a good half hour, and we were just hanging out with her.
Yeah.
And then other protesters came, of course. But I'll never forget that first protester because at the end of the production, she brought us a plant. And she said, thank you for being so nice to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, we love our first protester.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of thing. So that was wonderful. I would say bridging, I would say that Corpus Christi really just was the epitome of what we wanted to do with Know Theater, in that asking the questions, leaving you with questions, leaving you with inspiration, and then also just the kind of theater you can do in a church basement.
Yeah.
You know? So I would say that we stayed at Gabriel's Corner for probably, I think, two or three more years. And the artistic director was Jason Bruffy at the time. And we were talking, and we wanted to have our own space. And there was this space on Jackson Street. And there was this infamous meeting that we took with David Harriman. Jason and I came up with a couple of different scenarios and way we can get pay rent and get this space.
Yeah.
And met with David, and he stares at our proposal, looks at us, looks at the proposal, looks at us, and then he stares at us and he basically says, how much is the building? And he bought it for us. And he was a great patron. I miss him to this day. When we got here, the elevator
didn't work. You thought it did.
We thought it did, and we looked down and we're like, "What's that crack?" And it was like hollow underneath. There was like a sinkhole or something. He got a cement truck here the next day, had the thing, and it was like loading it with cement.
Yeah.
I think it was almost a truck full. I don't even know, but like he was just been our patron saint for the past bunch of years, and I think that I would joke with him at lunches where I'd be like, "That investment you have in Over-the-Rhine is doing pretty good." He laughed because when we got here, Art Academy just opened across the street.
Yep, because they were on Mount Adams,
The Kroger garage just got built because it was a big empty parking lot for a while. And then we were blocked from Ensemble. So literally they dubbed us the theater district and the theater and the arts district. And then they connected us with Music Hall. And it was the first time I felt like there were arts organizations this close to each other, a block.
Yeah. And now it's Theater Row.
Yeah. We got, Cincinnati, we got Music Hall.
Yeah.
And I love that strength of arts.
Yeah.
And I think it's reinforced every year with the Fringe Festival that we do, because we were using, at first when we started the Fringe, it was empty storefronts.
Yep, because all of Over-the-Rhine was empty storefronts. I mean, but that's also just a testament to the shift that's occurred,
And we want to take credit for the fact that, 3CDC filled all those storefronts and they were less available. But I think that, and then the churches, we were using the churches, and such a great relationship with the Art Academy over the years. So we really appreciate that as well. So that's how we came here to Jackson Street. We opened I think it was 2006.
Yep.
We did Back to Our Roots. We did a theater kind of on tour. We did a couple productions. We did, we were at Mount Adams Bar and Grill, and we did The Good Thief, which is like this Irish show.
Yeah.
And we did it like in the restaurant and stuff. And then we did Eight Reindeer Monologues at Arnold's. And then it all climaxes into our first production here, Susan Laurie Parks in the Blood.
God, what a great script.
Yeah. So we did that here as our opening show. I mean, we could have done something more commercial.
No, but that feels right.
Oklahoma might have been available. I don't know. But we did Susan Laurie Parks in the Blood, and then we've been going here ever since.
Yeah.
And I think it's been just a wonderful thing. I love Jackson Street in that it's like this off alley street.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dead end. I mean, it's quiet, but it's also like it's this weird, no one knows where it is.
Yeah.
And so that has been the biggest problem as the new artistic director, is like, how do I shine a beacon on the street that you can very easily overshoot? Because we were sifting through all of the documents and getting the office organized, and we found our first delivery from Heidelberg, and they had drawn a little map on the receipt of where Jackson Street was with a big star where the theater was located pre Google Maps. Yeah.
But I love how during the Fringe Festival or Blink, we
Blink,
can close
yeah.
the block.
Yeah.
And Art Academy can close the block.
Yep.
And it's really just this great arts area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The history of this building. So on either side of us currently are two empty lots. This was a string of tenement buildings. And the first life that this building had was as a taxi repair service, a livery service. And so you could call and the taxis would leave here from here, but they were also repaired here. So the ramp you came down was the ramp you would drive down. There would be hydraulic lifts to lift your car up to do repairs. And we found an ad that was like, real rubber tires. And I was like, why is that the thing you're promoting? And so
Cars were smaller back then.
So, and then it was a shoe store, like a shoe showcase store, because there was a factory around the corner. So it sold shoes here for a while. And then it was the famous Karma nightclub, which a number of our actors remember partying at in the 80s and 90s.
We got drunk with the mayor.
Yeah.
We won't say which mayor.
When it was a nightclub, there was a water feature over where the box office currently is. You can still see the waterproofing. So I like to joke that one day I'm going to put a koi pond back in there. And then, this downstairs, the bar was always here, but then upstairs, rather than having the, where the tech booth now is, that was the old DJ booth. And you can still see the sort of studded pleather around the sides of it. And where the restrooms are, the dressing rooms are now, that's where the restrooms were for the club. And there was a coat check in the back. And my understanding is there was someone living in the tech booth until like the early 90s upstairs.
Not when it was no theater.
Yeah, not when it was a theater. This was back when it was a nightclub.
I'm not saying we haven't slept here once in a while, but
but yeah, in 2006 is when we took or 2005 is when we took occupancy, and 2006 is when we opened
get ready.
it. Yeah.
What I love about this space is what I love about No Theater Productions in general is it changes.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the same format. The stands can move. It could be a 360 view.
Yeah.
It could be proscenium. And that's what I really liked about the different productions that we've done is we can change the format.
Yeah.
I would say the versatility, I love how the place can transform, I think, more than, or just as much as a lot of the other theaters in the city. But I think what we have, no matter what, is that intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way the productions are directed, the productions that we choose, there's this almost this intimacy with the audience that I don't think you get when, some of the larger houses, you're pretty far back.
Really far away. Yeah. And I think that's what I did in New York City. So it feels like such an easy thing to translate because out of necessity, you had to do tiny little shows, and that intimacy feeling where the gulf between audience and performer is physically shorter. But you get that energy so much more, and the actors love it. But the upstairs has been conformed into 1,000 different configurations, thrust in the round. Proscenium is what it's been for a bit. But down here, the nice thing is we can set up this cabaret stage with our chairs, have 65 down here and the bar open. And our first show of next season, King James, is going to be at the bar. It takes place at a bar. And I was like, well, why would I build a bar upstairs when I have a bar right there? So we're actually going to put the audience on this stage and on the sides here facing the bar. And so the actors are going to be at the bar performing, which I think is just such a great use of the space and saves me the money of having to build a bar from scratch. And
that's what I love about this space is I think when we were at Gabriel's Corner, our favorite bar was Milton's. And one of the major things we did was we would, during the curtain speech, I was like, hey, after the show, we're all going to Milton's. Come on by. And I think Shakespeare would also pop in there. It was like a theater theater
Bar,
bar.
yeah.
And I think when we came here, the underground became that,
Yeah.
where it's just like, hey, meet your actors. We want to break down those barriers
Yeah.
where if you want to talk to an actor
Yep.
or a director or a playwright,
They have
you
to, it's only the
can.
point of exit. They have
Yeah.
to come down through here. And that's the other thing too, is just like and now in this new position, you know, as I'm coming downstairs and opening the doors for the audience to leave, they always stop me to say, hey, are the actors going to be coming through? And I'm like, they have to come through here. They will be coming through here. And they're so happy to like get that immediate response to what you think of the show. I mean, yeah.
The other thing I would say that I like about the productions is it's not a prerequisite, but I would think that the majority of shows are one-act shows, or you know they're done in an hour and a half, or even if it's a longer show, it's never more than 2.5 hours. So I do like that, because I think when an audience member chooses a show, there's more to it than just there's the babysitter, there's the parking, there's all these other factors that don't have a thing to do with
the art.
But like what I like about it is I can go to Know Theater and get out in time to like talk about the show at a restaurant. Or I can go to the theater and have a drink or get it home in time for the sitter. Because I think time is valuable, and I think Know Theater definitely respects that. The biggest cost of this building, we do not pay rent, right? That is the glory of when David C. Harriman passed away, the building was left in a trust that is managed by GCF, but we essentially are the occupants of this building, so we do not pay rent. But our biggest bill is our Duke Energy bill, without a doubt. Cooling this space in the summertime, outrageous. Warming it in the winter, outrageous. And so it is one of those staggering costs of like, oh God, that summer bill or that winter bill is always shocking to me, as someone who keeps her house at a frugal temperature. But it is a large building, and having the 2 floors, and because we do so much theater in here, we can't just be like, oh, well, we're just gonna have the space heaters on in the office, as much as I try. And so the energy bill, I mean, obviously we have insurance and the taxes. There
are a lot of costs associated with it. Even our like trash bill. But yeah, we're a lean staff. It's myself, the managing director, and everyone has 2 jobs. I mean, she's my managing director, but she's also my bar manager. And which I think she secretly loves. She sets really ambitious goals for what the bar is going to make, which I love. My fringe producer, Katie Hartman, is also my fringe producer and my marketing and communications director. Liz is our development director and our box office head of manager. Grace is my production manager, but she's also the resident stage manager. Drew is my technical director, but also the facilities manager, because we own a building. And so I think there's like the cost of the building. There are some, you know, if you own a home, maintenance costs do add up. And so there are things like, hey, this whole electricity in this building has been a little questionable from the beginning. We trip the fuses all the time, or the breakers all the time. It would take about $10,000 to like add another panel, rewire the whole building. We have the trash alley that needs to be regraded. Like the whole building needs to be tuck pointed. So there's a lot of like maintenance costs. But yeah, I think the lean staff is doing it all and playing multiple roles. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think you do theater for the money.
No.
You do it for the love, but it's so important that these people are able to make a living so they can maintain these amazing organizations. And again, and when I say maintain a living, I mean like just a little above ramen. I mean, I just like
no. I mean, like we try. We've gotten the pay for everyone at what I consider fair wages, and so to me that's also very important. Is like you are committing yourself to a full season of theater. And even in the summertime, theater traditionally runs on the academic school year, but even in the summertime, we are in here, and this summer we're going to be running a summer camp. So a staff member has to be here to make sure that that goes off without a hitch. We also plan on doing a lot of our maintenance over the summer, so that way when we start the season in the fall, we can start it with sort of a clean, everything spruced up and ready to rock and roll. And because our season extends a little further with Fringe, there is a shorter period of time to get a lot of big items taken care of.
And what's amazing about that is, and yet Know Theater still has Welcome Wednesdays.
Yep.
Where you can pay what you can a ticket.
Yeah, so for Welcome Wednesdays, we save half of the audience. You can reserve your ticket in advance for $15, or you can show up night of and get a ticket for free.
We did a student performance of Blurs, which I assume was pretty discounted.
Yeah, those were $15 tickets for student matinees. So, I mean, again, trying to make sure that if we want to invite the community into our space, that we are serving the entirety of the community. Yeah.
And the other fun thing is we have a living wage ticket for our general admission, where you could pay more because this is what it actually takes to get that. And a surprising number of patrons will pay the higher ticket cost because they know what it takes to do this.
Yeah.
But we want to have those accessible prices as well for those student discount, veterans, that kind of thing. I would say that we are very lean, but we get a lot of great support from Arts Wave, Cincinnati's arts campaign, workplace campaign. And so Arts Wave gives us, our Arts Council also supports us, Greater Cincinnati Foundation. I think that Cincinnati has a lot of great foundations, and then a
Hale
lot of
Foundation,
great individuals that give as well. Hale Foundation as well.
Yeah, so I'd say most of our contributed income is a lot of the foundations, which I think some of that money might be disappearing based on things that are occurring right now. And so we have foundational giving, we have individual giving, and that really is the bulk of how we're able to pay everyone. Yeah. You have Cincinnati Shakespeare Theater at the one end of it, and that's where you're getting your classics. Not just Shakespeare, but your classics. And then you have ensemble theater, which feels a lot of like contemporary things that have recently closed off Broadway. That's where you're gonna see it. A lot of regional premieres. And then there's us, and then next door behind us is where the Emory is, and where Children's Theater is going to be moving in, and that's its own identity as well. I think for the Know Theater, it's theater you are not going to see anywhere else. If you're trying to get your fill of regional and classics, you are going to get things that you cannot see anywhere else. Local world premieres, written by locals, performed by local artists, directed by locals. I mean, that is what I really feel is what the Know does well, is serving locals. And then in terms of the shows that we do, the programming, I think we want to make sure that we are getting a full sort of range of culture and identity, but also, again, shows you are not going to see anywhere else. You're going to get that here at the Know.
Real spotlight on those untold stories that just really need that spotlight.
Yeah, I would love to really cultivate a sort of wonderful space for artists who are like, hey, I've got the first 5 pages of a play. I want to just hear, and then I can be like, great, here are the actors. Or, hey, I've got an idea, great, here's a pool of talented people you should get with. I feel like the Know's positioning can be of like, we have this space, let me throw it at you or give you the support that you need to take the one-line idea that you have and develop it into a play. I think that the development process is not really focused on a whole lot, especially in Cincinnati. In New York City, I feel like you have a lot of playwright development. And in Cincinnati, for playwrights, it does feel, and even directors, it can be a very isolating experience. Because for me, I just go from job to job, and I don't spend a very long time with, that theater company. I'm just there, I direct the show for a month, and then I move on. And for playwrights, there's not really that support system, and I feel like we can be that support. And so that's something that I would love to have more of a buy-in in with the community.
I think that serving as that role of incubator
Yeah.
for those playwrights, for those directors, for those actors.
Actors, yeah.
To really, just kind of break in.
Yeah.
I think that's why I think Know Theatre has an essential place in the Cincinnati theater scene. I'll be honest with you, as someone who helped start the theater company, I'm so thrilled that so many talented people
Yeah.
have continued the name, the spirit, and all people I've liked.
Yeah.
Because I've been like, oh, I don't like that person. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
And I hope they realize, like, the board and especially me, we know where you're coming from,
Yeah.
and I've lived that life,
Yeah.
and I like whatever we can do, generation to generation, to help support
Yeah.
that, I think is important for just the next 28 years.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I really do think like we've really embraced this idea of like radical hospitality. And what does that look like beyond just having a bar, right? I want you to feel welcome as an audience, as an actor. I mean, we're holding local auditions in a few weeks for our main stage season. And that way it's also to set you up for greatness, right? If all of the other theaters in town are holding their non-equity auditions right now, the Know should be there too. So that way you can start to plan out. And that's the thing that we don't really have the benefit of in other larger cities, is that you, again, working job to job to job. Here in Cincinnati, you can cobble together jobs. And if you know, hey, the first show of my season, I'm doing over at the Know. My next show that I'm doing, I'm going to be an ensemble member at Cincy Shakes. You can then cobble together a living, which I think is so hard when you do gig work. As an actor, as a director, as a performer, it's so hard when you're like, I don't know when the next gig is. And what I want to be able to say is that, like, hey, we have a space. Come make your art here. We have, we subsidize a lot of our space. We'll do a 50-50 box office split at the door. We will rent it to you for a song, but like come to us. We've got the space. And also we have the infrastructure. And that's the other thing that I think that we can really serve local artists, is that, like, hey, you're an artist first. I don't expect you to be good at writing the grant application. I don't expect you to be a marketing expert. I don't know how to Photoshop to save my life. So, but the infrastructure that we have here at the Know can do that. My staff can do that. So let us bring you in. We'll do all of the admin, the nitty gritty. We'll set up your ticketing link, and then you can just focus on the art. And we're providing that support. Yeah.
How we pick the plays. So I never held the role of artistic director, but I was many hats.
Yeah.
It was whatever I was reading, whatever I thought lent a unique voice in what was going on, but also just keeping the process open where everyone can give feedback. I think one of the best things was Kevin Barry, who was a playwright with us. He came to us with Redwood Curtain, this unknown Lanford Wilson production.
Yeah.
And it was at the same time, and he was just smart enough to know that Playhouse was doing Tally's Folly, and I think Ensemble was doing another production, a Lanford Wilson production. So it ended up being like this unofficial Lanford Wilson festival that just occurred over probably around 6 months or so. So at the time, we were doing Redwood Curtain, which was probably one of his more unknown ones, but also had a little bit more of there was an Asian angle to the story. So we were able to cast it. We built this amazing set, and Lanford Wilson happened to be in town. So he came to the production.
Yeah.
It was right after the riots in downtown Cincinnati over the Rhine. So the place was a ghost town, but we ended up being at the diner, which is now Sugar and Spice. We were at the diner hanging out, and Lanford Wilson, the cast, the crew, and we were just there, just talking and sharing stories the whole night after the production.
Oh my God!
And I mean, again, it was just dead quiet because it was right after the riots. But I think that was great because, like I said, theater finds a way, artists find a way. We were going to do that production. We missed maybe 2 weeks during the riots, but then we kept going.
Yeah.
And so that was one of my favorite memories. And again, it's just keeping yourself open to other people suggesting shows, different things. And we did have the parameters of the church.
Right.
So it's like, well, I can't do that all new production of Oklahoma.
Right.
So that kind of thing. So we did have those kind of parameters, but again, and then actors just open auditions. But I will admit to you, certain productions we could not do, like let's just say a David Henry Hwang 30-person Asian cast.
No, just not.
Could not do it.
Yeah.
Maybe a one-man show with me doing all 30 roles. No. I'm just kidding.
No, but there's plays that I would love to do. But the casting is like a Cuban American, and it's like, okay, well that's a little harder to find in Cincinnati. And the play is incredible. It's called Our Dear Dead Drug Lord. And like Pablo Escobar appears at one point. But again, like the parameters of the casting for that are very tricky.
I'm jealous of you because I see the talent.
Yeah.
But then you know what's really cool is serials, 1 Minute Play Festival. I've seen some talent come from there.
Yeah.
And then end up on main stage.
Yep. And that's
and other theater companies.
I feel like that's one of the biggest things is just that, like, if you want seeing people going to fringe shows and like the fringe artists who are out of towners who fall in love with Cincinnati and stay. My story is not unique. I know a lot of people have decided to stay because it's such a great landscape for the arts.
I would say stay, but I love it when they get to go to those places, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, and then they decide to come back.
Yep.
And then their talent comes back, and all those skills they got comes back to the city, and they decide, this is where I'm going to be. This is where I'm going to settle. And not settle like
no. But this is where I want to like buy a house.
But not everyone's gonna have that full career.
Right.
And so they come back to Cincinnati and they bring that talent, those connections and everything back with them. It's phenomenal.
But I think I find plays the same way, is that I famously read like 250 plays a year, and I just obsessively, and I get them from the library. I order them on the interlibrary loan, and I literally just collect scripts, and some of it the casting's impossible, and I'm like, the 40-person play, not very financially feasible, but it is about like, ooh, this one feels a little dangerous, or this one feels a little odd, or this is a story that we haven't seen on our stage before, and then really creating a season that feels dynamic and diverse and speaks to so many different audiences. That's really what I'm after.
Oh, the worst was that occasional trip to New York City, and that's where all the scripts were. And just those unknown ones, and like Suitcase, like, okay, I can pack a pair of pants and a shirt, and when I come home, it'll be overloaded with scripts. And again, this is internet was just getting started. We had the advantage, you wouldn't believe this. Back in those days, it was like you had to pay for ads. You had to pay the Inquirer. You had to pay the Cincinnati Post and get these ads. And we didn't have the budget for that. But we were in that email website just getting started, and we were able to take advantage of that and that was an expense we didn't have as bad back in that time. So
Yeah. But we're doing a lot of our like marketing is targeted for like public radio and movers and makers. Like, where are you going to get your information on where the art is?
I still think postcards are still king.
Oh my God, we still do a run on 500 postcards every single show, because it's so easy just to hand someone to be like, what are you working on? Boom.
That was my only fresh air. I'd be in the office working.
Yeah, and then go postcards.
I gotta hang posters. Yay! I get to go outside.
Yeah. Yeah, but finding the weird, the fun scripts that just like,
nothing like it. Yeah. And then when I started, I was playwriting, so I was writing for stage.
Yeah.
And then later in my career, I became a comic book writer, and I still the invaluable experience of writing scene by scene, step by step, just almost storyboarding in your head as you're Because I would also direct most of my
Yeah.
plays anyway. So you're almost directing and playwriting at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But so that was also an advantage back then, is working with just local playwrights.
Yeah.
And I know you've kept that especially with serials and Fringe
Yeah.
and even our main stage as well. So yeah.